Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there tonight and had yourselves a wonderful day. And I certainly hope everyone's been having a great weekend out there so far. Appreciate y'all joining me. We're going to give you all the latest information regarding this tropical wave that has everybody's attention. It's dubbed Invest 97L, and I think it'll become our first hurricane of this hurricane season. So the first thing we'll go over is current conditions out here in the Atlantic. We'll take a zoomed in look at this this tropical wave. We'll go over the latest from the National Hurricane Center, and then we'll compare all the model guides that I'm sure a lot of you folks are tuning in to really see. But I encourage you guys to definitely stay tuned for the back half of the video. We're going to kind of geek out with you guys a little bit, discuss the environmental background of the Atlantic, and just why I think we can have a powerful hurricane. Now, just because we have a powerful hurricane, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to hit anybody. But I'll talk on that. We'll speak heavily on steering currents. Of course, everybody wants to know where this potentially goes. So we'll give you some scenarios, why I could go this way, why I could go that way. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling tonight. So let's make sure this is going to work for us first, and it is. So we're good to go. I want to circle just a couple things out here in the Atlantic. This is I would say what is left over, or what is Invest 96L way out here, pretty much right smack in the middle of the North Atlantic. Once upon a time, models liked the idea of this developing into a pretty strong tropical system, and that certainly trended away to that scenario over the last several days. And regardless, it always looked like it was going to head out to sea, and that's exactly what it's doing. So I'll get that back off your screen. We got some unsettled weather across the southeast, and we got what was another area that we were watching at some point that had a shot to develop, but it never really gained any tropical characteristics. But most of our attention, all of it, is going to go on this tropical wave here. A lot of convection, shower, and storm activity indicated by the colors you see on your screen in this circled region. So you see the blow-ups in the orange, the reds, the black and whites embedded in those two colors. This indicates colder cloud tops, which means we have some deep convection, some taller updrafts. The taller up they go, the colder it gets in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and this is reflected by the colors you see on your screen. So once we were actually tracking a hurricane, which I think we inevitably will be at some point over the next several days, we'll really have you guys a really good example of those colder cloud tops. So let's get all this off your screen, continue to move forward. Let's take a closer look at Invest 97L. So it's basically an area that's under investigation, and we are all certainly watching this. And this is Africa, so this is way closer to Africa still than, say, the Caribbean islands, or certainly like the southeast coastline or the eastern U.S. So, this thing is a pretty strong tropical wave, and a classic looking tropical wave that I would say you would think is well on its way to becoming a tropical depression or a storm over the next couple of days, and it might. But as of right now, not expecting that, but that could change. But you can see just an open wave. You don't see a defined low-level circulation. You see some rotation with this, but nothing well put together. No actual tropical storm or hurricane. So I just want to take a closer look at this. The sun has set on it. That's why it kind of gets kind of fuzzy. It's dark out here in the eastern Atlantic. It hasn't quite made it to the East Coast yet. So the latest from the National Hurricane Center now, it's 7 o'clock right smack on the dot right now in the eastern U.S. when I live here in South Carolina. So let's see if there's a new update. This is the latest from 2 p.m. and there isn't. So I'm going to try to pull up the graphic at the very end of the video to catch the latest from the National Hurricane Center. But it doesn't change any information I'm going to feed you guys in this video. But right now, you see where this orange X is. That's right around where kind of the center of this tropical wave is. And once it gets into this orange area right here, it has a 50% chance to develop between now and the next 7 days. When I say develop, I mean into a tropical depression or a named storm, a tropical storm. The next name, by the way, is Aaron with an E. Now, you might ask me, what do you think might change on the next update here in the next, really, any minute now? I could definitely see them bumping this up from a 50 to a 60% chance, or maybe even a 70% chance, but it's not going to change any information I'm going to feed you guys in this video. So let's get that off your screen. Let's start off with the Euro. We're going to look at the Euro, the GFS, and the Euro AI model. So Euro first. So we're going to start off Tuesday morning, August the 12th. So in the next few days, it's saying that this is about where this tropical wave will be. Still pretty weak, only a 10-12 millibar low. And as we continue to move forward here, we get into Wednesday. And just like I said, I'm going to forget to mention days and dates and things like that occasionally. So I encourage you guys to look up here if you're kind of confused at what day of the week it is. So WED obviously stands for Wednesday, August the 13th. Don't focus so much on that Zulu time. So at this point, this wave is right here. It's gaining some latitude, which means it's kind of getting a little bit north. It's not a low rider wave at this point. Okay, so that's interesting, right? So we get into about Thursday, we get into Friday morning, and we're going to stop it all the way at about Saturday morning. You notice this millibar number begins to drop, which means we have a strengthening tropical system. So if we kind of go back to here, it's a 1010 millibar low. We take it to about Saturday morning, 48 hours from that point. It's a 1002 millibar low. So one thing that I want to kind of reiterate, once you start to get to around a 1,000 millibar low pressure, when we're talking about the tropics, you're starting to get close to tropical storm status, which would dub it a name, right? So I think that about 6 to 7 days from now, we could definitely at least have a named storm. And it looks like it'll be north, potentially. And I don't want to speak in exacts or conclusions or anything like that. A lot of, if not all, model guidance shows this being north of the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico, well north too, especially on the Euro. So we'll stop it there and we'll flip it to this. Same time frame, but a little bit closer. You can see more of the Caribbean islands, all of them in the southeast coastline. Now watch what happens. This thing sniffs out a weakness in the pattern, begins to rapidly strengthen. So by the time we get into not this Monday morning, but next Monday morning, that tells you how long we're going to be tracking this. So, take fiber because this is going to take a while, right? So we get Monday morning the 18th, not this coming Monday morning. This is a strengthening tropical system, 973. That's probably a Category 2 hurricane. Bermuda is this little speck right here. But this thing's quickly turning north. It turns north so fast it actually misses Bermuda to the east. Not a forecast. Okay, and then it pretty much leaves our screen. Not only does it head north at this point, it moves northeast and doesn't really bother a soul, honestly. It gets very close to Bermuda. So, okay. That's the Euro. Euro is out to sea. It's recurving out to sea, and we can all, take a breath of fresh air, right? Not so fast. Okay? Let's look at the latest GFS, which by the way is still running right now, but we got plenty of it to show you guys. It's loaded. So, same thing. Tuesday morning GFS. It wants to have this already at a tropical storm. 1,004 millibar low would probably make this a tropical storm, and the GFS still keeps thinking that. And it might be on to something because of this wave looking so strong, but it could be overdoing it also. But I think this thing gains a lot of latitude between now and the next 48 to 72 hours. And when I say gain latitude, I mean I think it's going to get pretty far north and not be a low rider anymore. But Wednesday, okay, we get into Thursday. This is dropping to a sub 1,000 millibar low at this point. And then we get into next Friday, August the 15th. It's a hurricane. Begins to strengthen a lot and enters an upper wind pattern that supports a rapidly strengthening tropical cyclone. So 975, Category 2 hurricane. Here comes another wave right behind it that we'll probably be talking about eventually. And then we take it all the way. Let's stop it right here. It's around next Saturday. Week from today, we have a 961 millibar low. That's a major Category 3 hurricane. Now, once again, we'll flip it to this. Okay, next Saturday morning, August the 16th, this thing gets even stronger, gets into the 950s, and you can already tell this is a lot further west than the Euro. Remember, the Euro has this slipping just east of Bermuda. This is getting, looks like, well west of Bermuda. So 945 millibar low, that's a major hurricane. Anytime we say major hurricane, that means it's a Category 3 or higher. We go all the way up to Category 5. So we go into Monday morning, August the 18th. And this thing is getting way too close for comfort. We got basically a monster hurricane right off the coast of the Outer Banks around the August 20th, 21st time frame based off this run, the GFS. And of course, I'm going to finish this run off for you folks in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. Not going to leave you hanging. Here it comes creeping up on your screen. How close does it get? This is a huge storm system. If this is the way it's going to if this was the way it was going to verify. And we got a major hurricane, and it looks like it goes right into southern New England and makes landfall there. So if you look at the run previous to this, it was definitely further to the east. So it's wild the GFS has ticked back west. We're not going to worry too much about those run-to-run ticks until we get a little bit closer. Okay, now what about the Euro AI model? It also made a tick back west after just a full cell recurving run a run back. Okay, so this is the latest Euro AI model. I've been showing this too, and same thing we get into Thursday. It's about the same as the Euro. It really keeps this as a weaker storm until you get about north of the Leeward Islands, and then it shows signs of strengthening. Look at, you got another tropical wave behind that one, and you got another one behind that one. So it starts to load up the deck out here, and we take it all the way into next Saturday morning, August the 16th, and honestly, it takes a while to strengthen this thing. I mean, it doesn't make it to a hurricane until about right here, kind of between the Bahamas and Bermuda. 983 hurricane, not this Monday but next, August the 18th. Most models agree with this time frame. Really, they're really locked in here. I mean, I might add. I mean, to me, I'll add this really quick. If model guidance, if there ends up being a hurricane in this area, 10 days from now, you can tip your cap to models. I mean, you don't expect them to be perfect, but you can say, hey, okay, there's been some improvements. So Euro AI model splits not Cuba. Man, I did that in this morning's video too. It splits Bermuda and the southeast coastline, okay? And it starts to inch a little bit too close for comfort to that Virginia, Tidewater, North Carolina coastline. And we will take a closer look up here. And here it comes. And my bad, I got a little bit mixed up. Okay, now we're good. So this is getting into August the 21st. And here it comes, and it barely misses an exact landfall. It follows really close to the GFS, except it's a little bit further east. But man, this comes up. And for my folks up in Atlantic, Canada, you know, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, everybody up there, this might be one you watch on down the road. But right now, I'm not going to get hyper-focused on you guys. But I promise you, for anybody tuning in from you guys are always so kind and nice. I got you covered. We're watching this for you folks too, so continue to tune in. All right, so that's 3 model runs, right? So I want to kind of go back to this really quick, okay? Let's just look at the GFS. What I want you to take from all this that I just showed you is the common theme is it looks like we're going to get some sort of tropical energy that slips into the southwest Atlantic and begins to intensify. That seems to be the common thing. What we don't know is that if this is going to impact land or anything like that. Okay, we just don't know that information. But it seems to be the common trend is we are definitely going to get some sort of energy that slips into the southwest Atlantic and then has an opportunity to strengthen into a pretty powerful hurricane. So I wouldn't look at one specific run, for example, the GFS, right? I wouldn't look at this and say, okay, I'm going to tell everybody and my coworkers and my dog, my pet hamster, my fish, and my cousin-in-law that there's going to be a Category 3 hurricane off the coast of the Outer Banks Thursday, August the 21st. That's not what you take from this stuff, guys. The reason I show you even past 10 days is because we look for trends. How do models agree? Do they agree with the ensembles? Things like that. So I just, always want to get that out there. Now let's look at the ensemble. Remember, this is the Euro ensemble. This makes up 51 members. So if all 51 members develop into a low pressure, it's going to show all 51 L's on your screen. Please don't think there's 51 hurricanes out here. That's not the case. So we go all the way out to about Wednesday. You can see all these L's clustered up right here. Okay. Now they're going to begin to spread apart. So we start to get into Thursday. We start to get into Friday. We start to get into Saturday. And this is when we start to see a bit of a spread, right? The signal is still there. There is a tropical system in this area, and it's beginning to strengthen. Just about every one of these members begin to strengthen too. The form. We got a little signal for it behind it also. Okay, now let's take a zoomed in look at this. Right? Okay, here they come. Watch how they split apart. This is next Saturday morning. Watch how these L's begin to split here. And it's gonna have to load on your screen, so just bear with me. Sorry if that messes with your eyes. But we take it all the way to about, let's stop it right here. 216 hours out. I mean, that's far enough, right? So that's not this coming Monday, but that's next Monday morning. Okay? You can see there's a pretty big spread with this. All right? Pretty big spread. All right, we got some slipping south. We got some recurving to the north pretty fast. And we got a lot in this area right here. Bermuda, like right in the middle of this. So, everything begins to split as we get into the Southwest Atlantic. Okay, now this does, we have some models that show us like 300 and something hours out, but there's no point in showing you that. But I will tell you that extended even further past this, almost like 90% of the members do go out to sea. I don't want to shoot you guys any crap here. I want to be honest. A lot of them go out to sea. But I just don't want you guys to take conclusions out of these videos. A lot of people do that. But don't do that. Do not do that. So this is the Euro ensemble. What about the GFS ensemble? Let's show you that. Okay, same thing. We're going to start off, Wednesday midday. And we keep this going here. We get into Thursday. We get into Friday. Remember, this only makes up 21 members and puts them all on your screen for us. So it's a pretty strong signal for a tropical system getting northeast of the Leeward Islands, the Lesser Antilles, and there's just not many members getting into the Caribbean, and definitely not into the Gulf. That could change. You know, we don't have conclusions here, right? But same thing. You know, we take it about a week out. We'll take a zoomed in look at this, and they really like this area right here. Now, I want to check here in a second if we have the 18Z model, but this is the 12Z GFS ensemble, and we go on and take this all the way out to the same thing. We go about to Monday morning. Remember, this is Monday morning the 18th, not Monday morning a couple of days from now, okay? And there is some strong members in here, a lot of 990s, okay? And some of these members are just turning. But you can see the dramatic turn pretty fast. We're going to talk about steering currents here in a second. Couple stragglers trying to get south, okay? So that's the ensemble guidance. Now, this is the portion of the video where we're going to geek out with you guys a little bit, okay? Let's get all this off here. So first thing we'll talk on is moist and dry air. And we'll talk on the short to medium term environment in regards to this with Invest 97L. So it's pretty easy to see on your screen here. The brown is dry air and the green is moist air. Obviously, our tropical system has moist air with it. So it's right here, right? And this is for Tuesday morning. But there's a whole chunk of dry air out in front of it. Saharan dry air from basically dust and sand from the desert in North Africa that we all know of. Okay, so this is going to plow right into that dry air. And I really think that mixed with the fact that you have some cooler sea surface temperatures, and out here in the main development region, there is warm waters, but there's a dramatic cutoff between warm waters that support tropical development and then cooler waters that might sustain a tropical wave, but not really promote tropical, like the strengthening of a tropical system. So the fact that it gains latitude out here, it kind of gets into some cooler waters potentially. And that's one thing I haven't talked about a whole lot, but we're really speaking on dry and moist air here, but this thing's going right into that, so some pretty solid dry air, and it does that for a while. And I think that's why the Euro really prevents this from strengthening in between now and like the next really 5 or 6 days. But then it kind of gets into this area, and you can see that millibar begins to drop. And I really think regardless of dry air getting into the actual system, which you see right here, even with a dropping millibar, the upper wind pattern allows for this to just explode in strength, which we'll talk about that in here in a second. So you take from this that in the short to medium term, it's going to deal with some dry air, okay? Because the Atlantic Basin this time of the year, and on average, still in about early to mid-August, is still pretty dry. You really get to the second half of August and then the first half of September, and that's when this area is typically really popping off. So this is a little early, just a tick early out here in the main development region. Now, the upper wind pattern. Now, this is the part of the video I really don't want you guys to freak out, but I've been honking the horn at this for several days now. The upper wind pattern, once it gets, I can tell you, the upper wind pattern, if it was to get into the Caribbean, the Gulf, or the Southwest Atlantic, but of course this is the area right here we're talking about the most. All three of those checks, the upper wind pattern supports rapid strengthening of a tropical system. So what you're looking at here is the upper flow at 200 millibars, about 40,000 feet up in the air. And what I want you to notice here is there's just a lot of white on your screen. You can see the lines here with arrows embedded into them. That's the direction that the flow is going at 40,000 feet up in the air. But you're not seeing a lot of blue. So once you start to see some of these blues here, this blue here, blue up here, that's a little bit of some stronger flow at that level of the atmosphere. But the white light flow, really just stagnant airflow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So these tropical systems themselves, they're in the low to mid levels. So they're underneath 40,000 feet up in the air. Okay, so what I'm getting at with this is as we're starting to get into, say, let's get this back in motion. As we start to get to about a week from today, this tropical system is probably going to be, and this is the GFS ensemble. This tropical system is probably going to be, I don't know, somewhere in this area right here. Okay, so there's not a lot of tug in the atmosphere from a ridge or any kind of upper trough or anything. So it's kind of chilling in its own environment and quite literally can almost create its own environment. And I honestly think that the GFS ensemble here is actually picking up on that a little bit. So this allows for this system to not be affected by any kind of wind shear. There's no wind shear because there's not a lot of flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. No directional shear, speed shear. It just kind of can just thrive out here and do its thing. Now, that's going to allow it to rapidly strengthen, and with not a lot of a flow in the atmosphere, this thing is immediately going to try to get north. And that's what it does. So we'll talk more on that here in a second. But in the upper levels right here, there's not a lot of flow. So this is, let's show a better example of this. This is the actual operational run. And it's a great example of this. There's enhanced flow around the actual hurricane itself in the upper levels because it becomes so strong that it actually increases the wind speeds really far up. A stronger storm system is a taller storm system, okay, most of the time, right? So this thing, if you look at the GFS and why it's rapidly intensifying in the Southwest Atlantic here, is because it just has an environment with no wind shear. And it basically creates in its own environment, and it creates an environment that allows for divergence aloft. So a lot of air is able to actually kind of get dispersed outward. It actually creates a massive outflow all the way down into the Caribbean here. So a lot of air is kind of being pushed out away from this system. I think it's a little bit weird in here, but we won't hyper focus on an operational run. But when you have something that's ventilating like an exhaust system so well, a lot of air is getting pushed out from the middle of the storm to the top, and then that air is dispersed away, okay? Whether that's anticyclonically, whether it's just pushed one way, whatever it is, this allows for more air to rapidly rise to the system. That gets pushed away, and it's just a continuous cycle, and it allows for the system to really breathe. We know that rising air allows for shower and storm activity. Convection moistens up the atmosphere, rain, right? Shower and storms. And we know that a tropical system likes moist air, so it's able to cocoon itself and create a moist environment around that low-level circulation, which is the heart and soul of these tropical systems. So it basically enters an environment that would allow for rapid intensification. And this has always shown up on model guidance for a while now. Just an environment that would allow for an explosive hurricane to really take off fast. And and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, guys, but we've been talking about this for the last several days that I've been worried about the Southwest Atlantic. And it continues. Every model continues to pop off a dangerous hurricane in this area. Now, just because it's a dangerous hurricane, that doesn't mean that it's going to hit anybody. But anyways, moving past this, we're going to continue to go over that the same way. Hopefully we'll get better and better at it, right? It's not always going to be as crisp as I want it to be in explaining these things. But one thing that's incredibly easy to explain is sea surface temperatures, guys. I mean, it really is. There's not much to this. The warmer the sea surface temperatures, the more the tropical systems like it, and the more it's going to take advantage of it. So the Southwest Atlantic, you see a bunch of 30s, 29s, 31s on your screen. That's in Celsius. You turn that to Fahrenheit, that's mid to upper 80s. And some areas are probably in the low 90s out here, especially in the Gulf. The Gulf is just a dangerous body of water right now, especially for hurricane season. But I mean, there's a huge plume of warm air right where this tropical system will likely go. But we're not 100% sure. The last thing we'll discuss is steering currents. This has a lot of discussions going right now on social media. So what you see on your screen is basically, let's just make it simple. The reds, that's stronger ridging. So, you go from this kind of pink color to this kind of muted red look. That means that the ridging is a little bit stronger. Then you go to this flat out red look here, and that is even stronger ridging. So flow around these ridges of high pressure, low pressure is always different. So around, let's pick the right color here. Does blue look good? Yeah, blue looks pretty good. Let's try yellow. Let's go with yellow. So our tropical system, and this is for Wednesday morning, this coming Wednesday morning, is about right here. Okay, you see the wind barbs and the flags at the end. That means the flow's coming from that direction. So, flow's kind of going like this, like this. So you would think, hey, this is going to continue to kind of go into the Caribbean and Gulf, right? Well, not so fast. I want to explain something before we get deep into this. A stronger storm system is going to always want to gain latitude, get poleward. So, if you don't have strong enough ridging and you got a strengthening, maybe rapidly intensifying hurricane, then it's going to get north regardless of the strength of the ridge. Okay, so we get this in motion, and this is the Euro. Let's explain why it turns out to sea so fast on the Euro, and then we'll look at the GFS, which gets closer to the eastern U.S. So we continue, and look, sorry guys, we gotta get this right. I mean, if you look right here, this is where our low is, right? That's some pretty strong ridging, even stronger ridging showing up. So you think this is going to continue to cruise. This is where our low pressure, I think it's going to continue to cruise this way, right? Well, watch what happens here. Get this in motion. Our low begins to strengthen. You can see it right there. Still, if you stopped it right here, you would think, hey, this is this coming Thursday. You would think, okay, well, this thing's definitely going to get steered this way more than likely. Just watch what happens in this area right here. Keep going. And it either breaks open this ridge, or the ridge just weakens and sort of retracts. This part kind of retracts back over the North Atlantic, and then this area kind of goes back over the Gulf. And what do you got here? You got a wide open weakness. So I think it's a combination between this. Weak ridging, I don't think the ridging's that strong, despite what some people are saying. I really don't. And a strengthening hurricane. Both work in tandem, and this thing turns north and recurves. Doesn't bother a soul. Okay? Now, I don't know if you guys remember about the last several days when the Euro kept wanting to bring this hurricane into the Caribbean or across the Greater Antilles. I don't know if you guys remember, it's been tuning in for a while. I was saying, I was questioning that. I thought it was weird. I said, hey, there's some pretty weak ridging. There's no way that a hurricane's just going to go zonal right into the daggum Caribbean. It's going to turn. And we're starting to see that more and more now. So this is a clear weakness between two stronger areas of high pressure. So, of course, this thing just, splits the seam here and then heads on out to sea. And that's it right there. Going on the top portion of the ridge now and just riding around. So it finds that weakness. You think, oh, this is a scary look. And then it finds a weakness right there and then it slips through. And, yeah. What about the GFS? What's the difference here? Tropical systems right into here. A lot of clutter. I got way too many wind barbs on this screen. So the reason it's getting steered sort of east to west is because the bottom flank of this ridge, that's the steering currents. Okay, so you keep this going. It's heading west, starting to gain some latitude. It's really starting to strengthen. We stop it here. Let's stop it right here. This is Saturday morning, next Saturday morning. There's a pretty strong ridge influence right here. It's going to kind of keep this like this, right? Some stronger ridging right here too. A little bit of a weakness right there between the stronger areas of high pressure. Does this hurricane sniff that weakness out? Absolutely. Absolutely. A strong hurricane is going to feel the weakness easily. That mixed with the fact we got a dip in the jet. That'll break open the ridge even more. So I would argue that this would not even head west still. That's very weak ridging right there. I really think that this would continue to plow more into that. Okay, but there's the other couple things you watch out for. Does ridging build on top of this? At this point, this system begins to slow down. Why? Because that's what's happening. Ridging is trying to build on top of this system around the 18th, 19th. So this system slows down, but it has way too much forward momentum at the same time. So it breaks open. I really think right here the ridging is trying to build on top of the system, right into here. It's trying to, but it's done got too far north at this point. Now let's go to this, and we have more of the run right here. And at the same time, though, it does not recurve fast enough, so therefore it actually gets tugged by an upper level low right into here, and actually gets slungshot and kind of pushed a little bit further straight north rather than northeast and get slung into the northeast coast. Now, that's another thing to watch out for, right? You got to be careful for any kind of upper level lows, kind of like Sandy, that will yank it in. That's another topic. And then we got other ways behind this, right? Riding that ridge. And that's a great example at the end of the GFS run of a much stronger ridge that would cause tropical systems to get more so in the Caribbean and the Gulf. I mean, great example here. There's a little wave right here. It's a great example. That would definitely push this in this direction. Okay? So, whew, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. Let's see if we can catch the newest update from the National Hurricane Center. We did. So we're now up to a 60% chance. So that's the newest information. So that's cool that we called it. That dropped about 7 minutes ago. So not a whole lot of changes. I mean, I was kind of expecting that. I think we all were. So chances continue to increase for a tropical system to develop, guys. Stay tuned. We'll have you another update in the morning. We'll go over all the latest information. And guys, I just want to say thank y'all for the support. You know, the growth has been awesome. We had about a 4-month period on the channel where we were basically getting no growth. Now things are popping off. So appreciate it. I appreciate the negative comments, the positive comments, everything. You know, I know that, you know, when the channels, the videos get a lot of views, the negative comments are going to come. And that's just the way it is. That's, you know, part of doing what I do, right? But I do appreciate all the feedback. I'm a few videos behind on comments, obviously, but I'm going to get to all of them Monday. So thank you for the feedback. I've had a couple people donate to the channel. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. And just let me enjoy what I love, which is the weather. It's my passion. So, all right, now I'm done. God bless all y'all. Have a good night. We'll see you in the morning.